Good morning. Good morning. What's up, everybody? See, I was going to do this stream on something completely different. This was going to be a big celebration of the talented Usher's performance over at the Super Bowl, crack a couple of jokes, something nice and light. And for the most part, I've avoided the Monique topic. Me and Abby talked about it on Sunday. I have my feelings about Monique. I think she's tremendously talented. However, Monique is one of those people who she's codependent on whoever she's romantically involved with. So much so that she will allow that person to take over multiple different regions of her life. And if you want to allow your spouse to run your career in the ground, that's your business. But Monique likes to take shots at people's kids. She likes to take shots at, how people conduct their business. As if she's some type of paragon of just positivity, morality, being so black first, so black centered. But in reality, she's not. She's not. Monique is about getting that money. Hence the reason why I chose the song Get Money. This is all about money. And I want people to start being able to recognize a grift when you see one happening. Monique is tremendously talented, but that does not mean she's not a grifter. And her son pretty much exposed her for that very thing, for being a grifter, for not really being there as a mother, And after watching this video, I can tell that this is coming from a place of sincerity because Monique has spoken on him and she pretended as if it's on him to repair the relationship. But before we get into that specific video regarding her son, I want to give you just the preamble, give you an idea of how Sydney was introduced to the family. Because by the time that Sydney became a pillar within that family unit, Monique was already a distant ass mother who wasn't involved. So well before Sydney became a problem, Monique wasn't a good mother. And I appreciate the son not placing everything at Sydney's feet, blaming him for all of the problems in the relationship, because Monique is clearly the real source of the problems. But let's go over how she met Sydney, how everything happened, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about the relationship before we hop right into that video with the son.
I had every race, every nationality, everything you thought could be at a party, and everybody was just
having a great time.
A great time, right? So he's at the party, and he's very reserved, very reserved cat. So I grab his hand and say, "Come on, let's go dancing," and we go out on the dance floor and have a great time. After that, I'm like, "All right, I gotta start packing and get ready to go to the Essence Festival." So we go upstairs and I take my shower. Well, it's nothing for him to see me naked because we were roommates,
right?
So yeah. Nothing. So he says, "When you come back from Essence,"
I want you guys to pay attention to that part. They were roommates and she had already had a son. So Sydney had had lots of exposure to Monique, her son, prior to ever getting in a romantic relationship with her. This is going to be relevant once we get to the son's video.
"I want to talk with you." So I said, "Okay." So he went to kiss me on my cheek, but the kiss was half lip. It was like here.
Yeah, okay. See, sleep with it.
You see it?
Sleep with it.
It was right there. It was right there, right? Now, I tried to turn the whole mouth, but it came right there. Right? Because I felt something different. I felt it. And I was like, and then after it happened, we both almost had a feeling of like, we did something wrong. Like this, like that's my. So we didn't address it.
Right.
I came back from Essence Festival.
What you want to talk about?
I went to his place.
Okay.
He fixed dinner.
Oh, okay.
He fixed dinner and read this amazing poem that he wrote. That was almost 19 years ago.
Uh-oh.
We've never been apart since then.
So it seems like he did the bare minimum. Made dinner. She was already famous at this point. Wrote a little poem, and that's all it really took to woo her. Monique was already a single mother, and this isn't a shot at single parents, but she was already a single mother of a teenage child, or a preteen, I guess at that point. She was already a celebrity. She's going to Essence Fest to do her stand-up routine. Do you know how famous you have to be on the Essence Fest stage? She was already established. Technically, she probably had a large dating pool that she could have selected from. But instead, she selected someone she knew already, probably because she felt comfortable with him. But Sydney has been watching her finances, her emotional vulnerability for years. For years. He just didn't really want much to do with her. I hear varying changes in this origin story. Like with Shannon Sharp, she made it look like he pursued her. But the story I got, and also a story that she shared once, was she pursued him. She was more of the aggressor. At the end of the day, irregardless to who pursued who, him inserting himself into her business has been the most damaging for her career. But I speculate once he started dating her, there created another barrier between Monique and her son. And as I mentioned earlier, she has already been a distant mother. She was already not involved. She relied on her cousin pretty much to raise her son. According to her son, that was the person that he viewed as a mother. So it only gets worse from this point. Let's go on to the next video where Monique talks a little bit about, her relationship with her husband.
Because I just needed somebody that I could just try, like my brother stole from me. I just needed somebody that I could just trust, and I didn't want to keep on having randoms.
Right.
Because that gets old after a while.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
You're trying to fill the void.
Right.
And men go through that as well as women. You just get tired of. So I knew I could trust him, but I didn't know he was the king that he was, Shannon. I didn't know that I would be raised. And there are women that have a problem with me saying that, and I will not back down from it. I did not know that that man would take me from a 15-year-old mentality. Even though I'm a star, I'm famous, I got a few dollars in my bank account, but still had that little girl mentality. You can't correct me, you can't say nothing to me, you can't check me, you can't do none of that. Still had that way. That man was able to shut all of that down.
First of all, this woman was in her 30s at this point. She had already had a child. She should have been mature enough to already heal those issues. And I don't understand how a woman at this stage of her life can say, well, this man taught me how to be a woman and taught me how to do. That gives me the impression that you were just a hot mess. And it leaves credence to what your son is about to say about you. There's no way that this woman if she felt like she had the mentality of a 15-year-old in her mid-30s, she felt like she was just a teenager, then what kind of a mother was she? How did she raise her child? Well, he's about to tell us.
I am Shalon. I am a stand-up comedian, Monique's oldest son. I guess I felt the need to make this video to just provide some context into this false narrative about her praying to the universe in order to reconcile our relationship or whatever the hell it is. I wrote it all down so that way I don't go all over the place and get emotional or anything like that. So I'm gonna talk like I'm reading a script, but it's just gonna help me kind of stay together. But to address the Club Shay Shay interview that she did, where she states that she prays to the universe in regards to reconciling our relationship, as I stated, is odd. My mother and I both know that that is a very false narrative, and I would like to free her of having to continue telling that lie. Faith without work is dead, and neither one of us cares to put forth any effort to reconcile with the other. We are separate, as she put it, because she doesn't care to be my mother any more than I care to be her son.
I want you guys to really think about what he said. Neither party is interested in really reconciling, healing their issues. And I want people to realize that's a normal and okay response. You do not have to repair a relationship with a family member if they have been abusive to you. You just don't have to. You can't be shamed into it. You can't be forced into it. Don't look at religiosity as a reason to allow that person back into your life, because if they are abusive and they have not healed themselves, all they're going to do is come back and be abusive again. And both parties don't seem interested in healing. That's a lot for a parent to say, well, I don't care. I don't care about reuniting with you. Especially knowing that he has a child also. You have a whole grandchild that you have no interest in because of your ego. But I bet you if daddy wanted to do something, Monique will find a way to do it.
One of us has had the desire to reach out to the other in a very long time, and I don't think that either of us anticipates that feeling ever returning. Speaking with my mother directly, in my experience, will either lead to some odd newfound moment of clarity in regards to how she was as my mother, or she retreats back to daddy to move forward with a conversation. And I'm tired of hearing my mother's truths. Newsflash, I'm not sure if...
It's interesting that he brought up that anytime they have a conversation, daddy is involved. So I understand that he is a step parent. He is your mother's husband. But before he was your mother's husband, she was just your mother. He was a nobody out in the world. So the fact that she has no interest in having a conversation with her son without her daddy present tells you everything you need to know. It's one of those things where she's codependent on this man, and she expects the whole world to be codependent also. Anytime you do some business with Monique, you have to also sit down and pretend like Sydney's important too. You got to pretend like Sydney's a star too. Monique, you may have been blacklisted because you had a big ass mouth, but your career is in shambles, much like your relationship with your son, because you want it to be, because you won't get out of your own way, because your narcissism has not healed whatsoever.
People know, but standing in your truth doesn't make you noble. I'm not sure if people are aware of that. But responding this way, I feel as though it allows me to say my piece uninterrupted. To those wondering, well, why say something now? Call it a form of therapy for me, I suppose. But when her daddy had intentionally stated that they have 3 sons, but his wife is on the internet talking about the 4th son in a video.
Pause. That tells you everything you need to know. Sydney only claims the 3 children that he had with Monique, not the son that was born first. Sydney is just as immature and hateful as Monique. He's participating in it. I would argue he's the leader of it. I get the impression when Sydney showed up, he did everything in his power to get her son out of the picture and assert himself as not only the head of the household, which he would have naturally have been, being the husband and an adult. He wasn't satisfied. He needed to X him out completely. Yeah, Sydney's a real piece of shit, but Monique is a piece of shit too. And I'm sick of people protecting bad mothers. Like, just because you sat back and had some kids does not mean you love them or care about them. Because clearly, Monique puts her daddy above all things.
That has millions of views. That rubbed me the wrong way. But anyway, to inform a child that you are not interested in being a mother at a time when that kid is the only kid that has the potential to lead a child to believe that you are not interested in them specifically. But to take it a step further, you also admit, my mother had also admitted to me that she didn't do the best job that she could do, which would also make one begin to question, all of your past decisions and prior emotional interactions. But to be completely honest and fair, those were things that I was willing to get over. Nobody's perfect. We're all human. But my mother showed a clear lack of humility, compassion, and consideration when taking any level of accountability for those things. My mother does a fantastic job of acknowledging a lot of things, but she doesn't take accountability very well, and anything that she may take true accountability for, it's only at her convenience, in my.
So just to really expand on that, basically saying his mother will acknowledge, I'm a bad parent. I didn't do a good job. Okay, now what? See, people feel like if they make a declaration that comes off as critical of themselves, that they've done something. Criticizing yourself is like a third of the work. Most of the work is what you do afterwards. Since you can't fix what you did before, acknowledging that you've done wrong is the first step. Then making amends. That's the part she doesn't want to do. See, making amends means you have to really check your ego. You have to check your ego when you make a declaration that you're wrong. That's part of it. But when you actually make the amends, now you got to go back to the person that you harmed or wronged and then make that declaration to them directly. And then you also have to do things to heal it, assuming that person is willing to receive it. Monique isn't trying to do any of that. She knows that she goes on television or she goes on the internet and makes some declaration about how she was a bad parent, and then Sydney showed up. Now she's a good parent all of a sudden. That's not healing anything. And in my opinion, that's the lowest level of self-criticism. You're only criticizing something that happened decades ago that you feel is no longer an issue. What about what you're doing today, Monique?
Experience. But if I had to guess, though, her interest in being a mother probably started around the time that she married her daddy and had his children. But that interest, obviously seemed one-sided, and as it should have been. By that time, I'm in my late teens, so to some degree, the excuse me, the neglect becomes easier to hide or validate. I guess you could say there are now 2 baby boys in the house, that require attention.
Monique's first children that she had with Sydney, there was a set of twins. So he's right. He's what, 16, 17 years old. His mother's famous. She has 2 small children. Ain't nobody paying attention to what he's doing or what he's not getting. And there is going to be some vacuum of attention and emotional support when new children are born, especially twins. Are you fucking kidding me? Especially at the state of Monique's life. I think Monique was like in her early 30s. So for those of you who are in your early 30s or your late 20s, imagine having 2 kids simultaneously. It's rough business. So either way, there would have been some type of emotional vacuum. But the problem was Monique wasn't there in the first place. So even before those 2 kids were born, Monique didn't have any time for this kid. And then your stepfather making it very clear that you're no longer welcome. So what do you think it was like for this kid growing up?
But still, during that time, however, I still watched her enjoy the love and admiration of total strangers more than my own. To this very day, my mother has never expressed to me when, if ever, she became interested in me as her son. That did lead me down a path of questioning my self-worth and struggling to understand the value of a mother in a child's life. In the interview, she also states that she gave me an apology, but an apology to a son from a mother that consciously showed no interest in him holds no weight. There are still women to this day that my mother will give credit to for being more of a mother to me than she ever could. Her assistant, my cousin, being one of them. Every time, though, that my mother would state that she was right here whenever I was ready, that ideology still blows my mind today, that a person could openly admit to being an uninterested, not put my best foot forward type of parent and be so self-centered that they still express to the kid, you have to come to me when you're ready. You got to come to me for us to make this right.
Isn't that how she views her relationship with Tyler Perry, Oprah, Lee Daniels? All of these people need to come to her. They need to make amends to her. And I'm not saying what Oprah did was right. Oprah did some look, that thing that Oprah bringing her entire family on this panel interview, knowing that, Monique was a victim of sexual abuse from her brother, had him on the panel. It was sick. It was the worst thing you could do to a person, right? But to expect all these other parties like Lee Daniels and, Tyler Perry and any other comedian she had beef with, everybody got to get on their hands and knees and apologize to Monique and her daddy. It's not going to happen. I mean, Monique has she has a general grievance with Oprah that is, you can't invalidate that. You can't negate what Monique experienced. It's wrong. I totally agree that she should get some type of, I don't know, apology, but she ain't getting one. Oprah doesn't apologize to anyone. And she's definitely not going to apologize to Monique after all these years. But you had a whole son out here and a grandchild, and you don't want to fix that. You expect this guy to get on his hands and knees with his child and apologize to Monique because, for what? I can't really see what he has done to her. And he could have exposed her years ago. Oh, I'm confident people have offered him money, all kinds of things to, talk about Monique. And he didn't. It was when they tried to use him as a tool in these interviews that really ticked him off.
Okay. But I'm not sure what my mother could possibly think that she has shown me in the past or have for me now that's not money, goodness gracious, that would make me want to come to her or or whatever those feelings are supposed to be. A mother is supposed to be the first woman that a boy falls in love with. I loved my mother very much, but my mother loved things more than she loved me, and she would validate her love for me by giving me things and would proceed to call me ungrateful or inconsiderate if said things did not have the desired effect. I couldn't imagine what it's like to be her, though, to ask God for what you want, and then he gives you what you need, though, only for you to ignore it and have the audacity to ask God for something else. And
That is sort of true. Like Monique was given a lot. She was given a television show. She indicated that she wasn't even in LA that long before she was getting some traction. It's comedians who go out there who I would argue are more talented than Monique, who never got a third as far as Monique has gotten in her career. And I'm not saying that she should just accept being paid less, shoddy accommodations. You got your trailers blowing up. I get it. That's not okay. But you got a lot in comparison to others. And it looks like you're not redistributing your wealth in any other way. And I don't just mean your financial wealth. I don't see her trying to bring any new young comedians up. You could have got a tour together with a whole bunch of young Black female comedians. Why didn't she do that? Who besides her daddy is she uplifting?
I'm glad I don't. I'm glad I didn't do that. And when he told you no, you went to the universe instead. By no means, though, do I want to give off any type of an impression that I am a victim of anything. That is not the case. As you can see, I'm smiling from ear to ear. I'm alive. I'm happy. I'm a dad. I'm healthy, I think. I drink a lot of water. I'm getting over a cold now. I still have my days just like everybody else. And, there were a few things that she did teach me along the way. I did learn how not to love from my mother. I also learned to make sure that I never lose so much of who I am that I have to validate it through another person. And though I feel as though, in hindsight, I think she did it reluctantly, I do appreciate my mother, for showing me what the top of the mountain looks like. You know what I'm saying? It did give me perspective on what hard work and dedication can get you, but I don't want something like that at the cost of giving up something that I created. I don't want it that bad. And speaking of creations, I genuinely, truly, I really did want my mother to have a relationship with my daughter. I even fought through those intrusive thoughts that were, if she wasn't interested in you, what makes you think she's going to be interested in your kid? But it took my mother no time at all to prove that those intrusive thoughts were correct. But what I can say, good for her, the universe did, bless her with three other sons. And God willing, I'm sure that all three of them are adults now. So I'm sure that one of them, God willing, if not all three of them, will make her the grandmother that she wants to be. I still look forward, to that moment for her. But overall, when it comes to the boys, though, I am happy that whenever they do hear me talk, sorry, my phone did something weird, but whenever they hear me talk, they don't know what it is. They can't relate to what it is that I'm saying. My experience with my mother is not their experience, with our mother.
Also, bear in mind, his brothers all have the same father. So they're going to be treated with a different level of respect, a different level of care. And some of you may have experienced this in your own families or may have heard about it in other families where, for whatever reason, they become a blended family and the father that is still in the home is not the father of one or maybe more of the children that are in the home. And he treats them differently. And sometimes the mom also treats them differently. And I don't get what certain parents don't understand. You're going to have to pay for this one day. Like one of these days, when these kids become adults, they don't have to talk to you anymore. They don't have to bring their kids around you. They don't have to acknowledge you. They don't have to do shit with you. They are free to live their life. They are free to go out in the world and never see you or speak to you again. You're not the only family member. And I know people are going to hear this and say, oh my God, how could you say that? That's someone's mother. Yes, that is someone's mother, but their mother is apparently abusive. So it's okay not to talk to them. I think we have normalized the idea of cutting off your father, especially in Black and Black adjacent communities. It's just, oh, fuck your daddy. Just get rid of him. Your father and mother can be equally toxic, one or the other or both. And if you feel like they're being toxic, you have the right to get away from them. And you have the right to protect your kids from them. See, it would have been different if Monique had a bad relationship with him, but when she saw his daughter, something clicked. Now she's grandma. I've seen that. I've had that experience where a person's like, oh, we don't have a good relationship, but when we see your son or we see your daughter, oh my God, I'm grandma, grandpa. I'm changed. I revert to that good side of me, but that didn't happen. Monique saw his child and only saw an extension of him. But she expects us to support her. She's expecting us to believe that she loves us, the community, for real. You don't even love your son and your granddaughter.
So my prayer for her and them is that they continue to see her the way that they see her now. I do also want to make sure that I say thank you to my mother for giving me life. Without that moment in time, I wouldn't have had my little one. But outside of that moment, there isn't anything that either of us has to offer the other. In my opinion, it's a waste of God's time and the universe's time for praying for something that you were not willing to put forth any effort to obtain. Putting the work into becoming Monique is more important to my mother than being my mother. And I do not believe that it was never about her being there and waiting for me, but it was supposed to be about me being there and waiting for her. My mother's value had reached such a low point in my life that I no longer found it necessary to either want to wait for her or even go to her. But like I said, man, I'm super grateful that she has the opportunity to do it all over again. You know, I'm happy for her. I hope the Cat Williams tour goes well, but you know, the narrative that she prays for us to reconcile is a false narrative. It's not real, and I'd appreciate it if she stopped saying stuff like that.
In short, please keep my name out your mouth. You don't care about me. You don't care about my daughter. So stop pretending like you do, trying to get some type of clout and make it look like you're a good parent. And the whole situation with D.L. Hughley and his daughter is still a situation. He still ain't shit. It is giving Illuminati sacrifice vibes to me, my own personal opinion. But that doesn't change the fact that, Monique, you're a shit mom too. Not only are you a shit mom to your eldest, but your 3 sons that you created this hierarchy with, you've only set them up for failure too. And you've created a further unhealthy dynamic. Monique, if something happened to you medically speaking, and let's just say you can't make any money, do you think daddy's going to take care of you? I get the impression that he's not. I get the impression that he's a bit of an opportunist, and he would leave the responsibility to take care of you with his sons. Period. I get that impression from him. And that's what these older parents need to worry about. See, I had an aunt. She was a very strong-tongued woman. She'll let you know about yourself. But she told me, and she was much older. She was like 60, 70 years old when she told me this. I think I may have been 13. She said, one of the things that I learned in life is you need to be careful how you treat people because you never know who's going to wipe your ass. Basically meaning you never know who you're going to need. Something medically changes in your life, you get dementia, you hurt yourself, who's going to take care of you? 9 times out of 10, you're going to rely on your family. Unless you got a whole lot of money to protect you and you can afford some type of specialist to take care of you. If you don't have that, you're relying on your family. And if nobody cares to take care of you, you're going to sit inside of a nursing home, covered in your own filth, if you're lucky. Now, Monique has a lot of money, or we think she has a pretty decent amount of money. She may not have to deal with that. But I get the impression that all of her adult children they're pretty distant. Even the 3 that she has a good relationship with, allegedly, I don't get the impression that they're very close with her either. You always see her with her daddy. You never see her with the kids. So, Monique, You're a shit mother. I don't respect people who are shit parents. I don't care if they're male or female. You're a bad mom. I don't support you. I still think you're tremendously talented. I think your comedy shows are kind of getting a little repetitive. You're just getting on stage yelling and screaming about Lee Daniels and Oprah and all this, and you're not even making some jokes about it. It's very ranty. And you know, that rant humor, that shit got played out in the 2010s. We don't do that no more. You got to come with jokes and punchlines and some type of, I don't know, symbolism, something. You're not bringing us anything during these shows. But I want you to continue to still make money, because I like when people of color make money. I'm all for that. But you're probably going to hell. And you're probably going to hell because I think your son didn't even tell a third of what he could have told. I think he kept it pretty light. I think he left out a lot of the worst things that you've done. And you probably should leave him alone, because the next time you speak about him, you or your daddy, he might just sit down and have that conversation with Oprah. And Oprah's pockets are deep. So just do your little comedy shows, try to get some more acting gigs. But more importantly than that, Monique, you should probably go to your son. Since you're the one who did the neglect, you're the one who allowed your husband to create this dynamic between the children. You allowed this abuse to happen. You actually need to go to him and try to heal that relationship. And you probably need to do that soon, before your granddaughter gets so old that she don't even want to know you. Kids grow up real fast. Have a good morning, everybody.